Hi guys! In today's video, I'll be reviewing Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. So I'm actually shocked that I really enjoyed this book. It's become one of my favorite books that I've ever read because it usually isn't my type of book. This book is a historical fiction slash fantasy slash horror. It has a lot of genres into one tiny book, but it manages to pack a punch. And I do really recommend it. So the way I'll be sectioning it is non-spoiler, spoiler-ish part, and then my overall thoughts. So let's get into it. The atmosphere is incredibly bleak and very dense. It takes place in like a medieval setting. So the synopsis of the story, which I should have started with, the basis of the story is that a newly orphaned girl finds a mercenary and they both go on this adventure to arrive in Avignon, a French city. And this all takes place during the Black Plague. The whole atmosphere and the very episodic nature of the first 100 pages of the book really reminds me of Berserk. And when I say that, I really refer to the fact that in Berserk, as well as in Between Two Fires, we have a gritty soldier type fighter that fights a lot of monsters and does a lot of morally gray, questionable stuff. And we have a world that is very medieval and very dark and gritty. The main character really reminds me of Guts. And damn, do I like these types of characters. They are those types of soldiers that have been through a lot. At the point that you meet them in the story, they've been through their fair share of wars and fights and battles and everything. And I love exploring those types of very complex characters and very closed within themselves. And also, just like Guts having Puck, we have the girl that is orphaned that really starts unraveling our main character, and we find out more and more about him. And this exploration of character that happens in Between Two Fires is reminding me of Berserk, and it all happens in this incredibly bleak and hopeless and suffocating presence of the Black Death. The setting and everything is just a great book. I do recommend it to anyone that is a reader, basically, because I think it suits every single person out there. I just love it that much. Every single town and every single city that you get to feels incredibly unique and is described so vividly. Every single person or little monster or mythical thing that they encounter feels really fleshed out in the sense that they are overdone. Like, you've read them in other books a bunch of times, but they don't come across as stereotypical in any shape or form. They're incredibly unique and they're used so well to create suspense, to create tension and fear. So this is a mild spoiler, but we have a bunch of mythical creatures that appear in the book and they are well known. Like, you've read about them a bunch of times already, but they don't feel stereotypical at all. It doesn't feel like they're used and reused and you just know everything that's going to happen. They're used so well to create and up the suspense and fright that you feel for the characters. And another thing that adds to the overall greatness of the world as presented in the book is the prose. I haven't read any other work of Buehlman's, but in this one, the prose is incredible. I just absolutely love it. I cannot wait to pick other books of his up, but he is so evocative and there are so many subtle moments that really show a character's psychology and show their true motivations or regrets or beliefs, and I love that. He really pays attention to every single detail and it does pay off so well. I will, in my spoiler part of the video, I'll be referencing a bunch of scenes that have this little attention to detail that they are so great. You wouldn't expect scenes that are tinier, they're not grand, they're not a big fight or the climax of the story, but those little quiet scenes between characters, those struck gold. Those are the ones that make you cry, and those are the ones that make this book what it is a great character study basically. I was a bit scared because the first 100 or so pages are a bit episodic, and I was scared that I wouldn't be as attached to these characters as I would normally be to other characters, especially since it's like a smaller book. But that wasn't the case at all. Like the way these characters are written, they're so nuanced and so fleshed out. You're not always sure that you are rooting for someone that is doing good. That's the type of characters that I love, the ones that make you think and make you really sit there and ponder your decisions because you like a character that might not be the good guy. And these characters just achieve everything. And the thing that I really appreciate about Buehlman's character work is the fact that he can introduce a character and have him for like 5 pages tops. You get so attached to that character because he has regrets and beliefs and hopes. It's really a ride getting to know every single character that you get to know in this book, because at first you start with 2 people that are on a road trip, and then you start encountering people along the road, and it's so fun to see them interact and see how different people are like selfish or compassionate. It's just such an interesting story that deals with a very interesting topic in a great setting. And I really care for a lot of these characters, especially one that I haven't mentioned, which is a priest. He's just one of the best characters that I've read. The arcs that these characters have and the development that goes through them, the acceptance of the fate that they come to, it's just incredible and enthralling to read about. And it's one of the big go-tos that when I recommend this book to other people, the characters, like, this is why you should read the book. They're just great and they will stick with you. It's just, I don't always have this feeling about books. Like, I can get attached to characters, but I've gotten really attached to characters from like Wheel of Time, and this is yet another book that gave me that feeling. And it's great character work. And because the first 100 so pages are episodic, the pacing is very quick. This is a page turner type of book. Like, I got through it a lot quicker than I would have expected, and like, I was on the edge of my seat. I will have to admit that the first, like, that episodic part, I wasn't the happiest because I don't like short stories, and it felt kind of like a short story because when I was like learning their traits and everything about them, I felt like I'm starting to finally understand their motivations. That's when it would cut to another story and then see them in another village or on the road again. And because of that, I felt like maybe this book wouldn't be the type of character-driven book that I was looking for. But after that part, it becomes more streamlined. It becomes like it has a more linear narrative. But I do really appreciate the fact that he used those episodes, that episodic nature of storytelling, to really get you accustomed to the world and the characters and everything about the story. The way that he weaves in the main plot is really interesting, and you have always this main goal over your head, and you know something will happen, something will go down, and the longer you wait and expect, the suspense builds. It's great. Even if you later get a more linear timeline, it doesn't mean that Buehlman will stop playing with this episodic nature of the story. And I love it because he's able to switch between characters in very pivotal moments. The first time that I encountered that type of writing, I was like, oh, so you're like ruining all the suspense that you've built so well? But no, he doesn't. He creates more suspense and more heartbreak, and you understand even more. That ability to switch between POVs in a pivotal moment and to know which POV to switch to and what to present, to add, to layer out the suspense and every emotion you might be feeling when he uses this technique is grand. I love it. I want to read more of his works because of that. It's just astounding. Wow, great writing, I guess. So if you haven't already realized, I love this book. So now I want to tell you guys the scenes that have really stuck with me and why they stuck with me, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts on this amazing book. So I, just like I've mentioned in the prose, there's a great attention to detail, and there are a lot of subtle moments that pay off in the end. When I say that, I refer, so spoiler warning, Nino, or whatever, spoiler warning. There's a thing about our main character, Thomas. He had been married, and when he was married, his wife used to tap her ring 3 times to signify basically that she loved him or whatever. And it was a very sweet detail about Thomas that we get really early on. And at the end of the book, he meets his wife, and they have this whole conversation. It's been like 40 years, so he's very old, and she wouldn't have been able to recognize him. And they meet and they talk seemingly as strangers, and when he starts leaving the room, he hears her tap her ring 3 times. And just that little detail, just that little tap of a ring, brought me tears. And it's such a great character moment. You understand so much about Thomas, and it's just, I love it. Like there's nothing more to say, just the fact that I love it. And there's another thing that you get to hear the girl called Little Moon, and at the end you hear Thomas, our main character, call her Little Moon, and it brought tears to my eyes. And there's these little moments of our girl, she's called Delphine, of Delphine doing questionable stuff. And you're like, does she have superpowers? Is she like an angel? What's going on with her? Because you see her like preparing food on a tree stump, and when they leave, that tree has grown and has fruits. And there are a bunch of hints of her being a bit more special, but they aren't like so punched in that they're obvious. Like you can just read them and not really like digest them and understand what's going on with her. And I love that, because by the end you understand what she's capable of and what she is and everything. I'm not going to actually spoil you on that. It pays off. Like it bodes well for a reread is what I'm saying. And one other scene that I want to mention is we have our 3 characters, Thomas the mercenary, Delphine the little girl, and the priest. They've been through a bunch. They've fought and been through hell and back. And they arrive at the cabin where there's this old man that is really alone. And he tells them that he has the plague and they should be wary. And they're like, no, we're not scared. We just need shelter. So please let us in. And he does that. And the conversation these 4 characters have, and this old man that has the plague, he is sick. This character really stuck with me. Like we meet him for like 5 pages maximum, but he is so great. You understand everything about him and you feel so bad for the guy. Everything about this scene, how it is built, how it is constructed. Like you switch from POVs, you switch timelines. Everything adds a lot of heartbreak, and it's just one of the best scenes that I've ever read. I do recommend it. I'm trying not to spoil it as much, but I'm trying to point you in the right direction to pick up the book. Please. And I don't know, it's just one of the best books that I've read. The way he utilizes every single character, the way he builds on their traits and develops them, and how he uses this switch of POVs and timelines to create more tension and more heartbreak in just one scene. It's just absolutely astounding. So this is my kind of spoiler part of the video. I don't want to actually spoil you guys about what happens in the end, so let's move on to my overall thoughts and the ending of this video. My overall thoughts are that this is one of the best books that I've ever read. It has literally everything that you could ask for in a book. It has amazing characters, amazing plot, amazing motives and tropes. It has atmosphere, literally everything you could ask for. And I'm really excited to read more of this author's work. If you guys try to pick this book up, and in my country it's not as easy to find, but you can actually check out the author's YouTube channel, and he reads through the whole book. He has an audiobook, he narrates it, and you can just listen to the guy tell his story, and this is just a win-win situation for us. And so if you cannot find this book in like paperback format, you can find it in audio being narrated by the author himself. But I do recommend it. It's a very easy read. It's one that hopefully will stick with you, or at least you'll really enjoy like I did. Obviously it's going to be a 5-star read, because why? I mean, I've talked for like 30 minutes, I've raved about this book, like what other outcome you could have expected. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have read the book, let me know down in the comments below what you liked. Maybe you disliked something about it, and I'm really curious to see what. And I really want to talk to you guys about it. And I hope you liked this video. I had a blast making it, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!